Xal'atath just got owned. Now, I'm surprised because we're actually seeing Xal'atath take some losses recently. Clearly, she got outplayed by the Ethereals when they got the Dark Heart from Gallywix. She seemed very surprised by that. The first real L we saw her take was when the whole arrow shit happened and hit the Dark Heart and broke it in the first place. So she's been really fumbling the ball with the Dark Heart overall. But it's kind of nice to see, I'll be honest. The Jailer really was like always 20 steps ahead of us, you know, with his big nipples hanging, dick swanging everywhere. He was really always never taking L's. Xal'atath seems more real. She seems like a villain who's kind of on her back foot at times, but usually ahead of us. Let's see how Xal'atath just got owned and what it might mean for the lore going forward.
Xal'atath just got owned. The consequences for the story are huge, and that means the consequences for the game are huge. Let me show you something kind of insane. This is Caresh, the homeworld of the Ethereals, and it's actually the final cutscene of patch 11.1.
Is that confirmed? I mean, I think he's right. That's like 100%. I would say 99% chance that that's what we're looking at here is the remains of what, what Caresh is right now. But I don't think Blizzard ever confirmed that this is in fact Caresh yet. Now, for me, what I think might be happening here is we've seen the Dark Heart absorb void power before. Right? I mean, she was standing there literally in front of Belladar and Hallowfall, and all this void power was being absorbed into this thing. So maybe the Ethereals have a plan to absorb all of this void magic that's kind of sitting right here at the core of their world, Caresh. And maybe that would lead to some type of, inhabitability. They can eventually go back. I don't know. It would probably look like the Outlands if they ever went back, just floating rocks in space at this point. But to me, that could be their endgame plan here to use the Dark Heart for. We'll see.
1, essentially the post-credit scene that is teasing what's next for the game. And we've today got to go through a double cross that involves one item, the Dark Heart, and 3 players, Xal'atath, Gallywix, and Phase Thief Azir, the guy who we see in this final shot looking on what certainly appears to be
a badass
the
Ethereal.
heart of a broken world. Now today's biggest loser is Gallywix, because he's dead. But Xal'atath is...
The Gallywix death was anticlimactic, to say the least. He got crushed by his own mech. I mean, I feel like they could have had a better... It could have been better, right? I don't know. It would have been... I think he's got a backup plan. I think he might show up in Shadowlands at some point. He knows the... what are those guys called? Those flaming head boys. He knows them. He's talked to them for quite a while. He spent a lot of time in the Shadowlands, so he might have a backup plan. But in terms of deaths, I mean... Jesus, just getting crushed by your own mech? Yeah, Bobby's dead, basically. Love him being squished like a bug, to be honest. Well, yeah, he is a roach, so yeah, I guess that did kind of work out for him. We put effort into taking him down, and he died from a workplace accident. It's kind of true. Yeah, it's kind of true. The Union's going to be upset by this one.
Xal'atath is really not far behind. She's actually been outplayed, and today you will know the full story. And I've got to say, after sitting through the Jailer for all that time, it's nice having a villain who actually loses sometimes and who
I don't pre-watch the fucking videos. I keep getting accused of this, but I agree with him. That's why I said it before the video even started. It's nice to see a villain sometimes, a little bit on the back foot. Now, is she still, ahead of us in terms of her plan and everything? Yeah, of course, because she knows her endgame plan and we don't. So we're always trying to figure it out, trying to guess her next move. She already knows her next move. So even though she's taking losses here and there, which makes her feel like a more real villain, we still know that at the end of the day, she's still far ahead of us. We're always trying to catch up at this point.
Actually has to
much more refreshing than the Jailer, where it just felt like he didn't even want to deal with us because we're so fucking stupid. It was literally him just, dropping his big twirly mustache boss lines and then walking away like, get the fuck out of here, you dumbass players. You can't keep up with me.
Fight for their cause. Okay.
This is better.
Let's explain the story.
Who's
I've also
coping?
got something really unsettling, but I mean, it's kind of neat. So, a group called People Data Labs had my personal data. That is, until today's sponsor, Incogni, got my data taken down. And that's just one of the 145 data brokers that they have taken my information down from. And if you'd like Incogni to cover you, just use my link, incogni.com/bellularwarcraft, and you'll get 60% off their annual plan. Let me explain all this, right? So, whenever your data's online, be that normally, or just through a data breach, which is kind of out of your control, data brokers are firms that exist. They gobble that data up, and they make money money by selling that data on. And sometimes that just means spam or scam calls. Sometimes it's, well, a hell of a lot worse, which is bad for our security. Now, we can legally take our data down, but that means, you know, manual work, forms, and the data can just get back up again, in which case you'll have to do all that work again. Incogni just automates all of that. It takes your data down, it adds you to suppression lists that block recollection, and it continually rescans so your data is actually kept down.
Wow.
You just look at my dashboard and you can literally see them working in the background. I suppose I think of it as like digital hygiene. I mean, I don't know about you, but I do feel a bit better knowing that I'm not on People Data Labs, whatever the hell that is. So you'll get 60% off an annual plan
at incogni.com/Bellular Warcraft. I use him personally, and I very much have kept...
Bellular needs to be honest. He's doing a lot of OnlyFans website surfing, and he needs his data scrubbed after that because he doesn't want the employees finding out, so he's his Incogni.
my annual subscription.
That's probably what's going on there.
To understand the final shot of 11-1, we need to...
If Xal'atath started an OnlyFans, how popular do you guys think it would be? I think she would be one of the most popular OnlyFans girls in the world. Instantly. Sam projecting? Maybe.
Understand this one. This is the moment that Illyria cracks the Dark Heart, and that threw Zal's carefully laid...
I mean, if her plan falls through, that's a great backup, right? Xal'atath only top 5, 100%. Yeah, guaranteed. I mean, yeah, she would be... She'd have a good career.
Plan
it's a good fallback plan for her.
To continue, Xal would need to get the Dark Heart fixed, and that's where the Goblins come in. And that's because, well, Goblins originally made it. You see, the Dark Heart was a prototype of the Dragon Soul. The Dragon Soul was an artifact designed to contain immense power, and it was made to Deathwing's design by the Goblins. So that's why Xal'atath turned to them. They're clearly the bunch who made it originally, and more specifically, she went to the Black Fuse Goblins. They're basically the ones who made Garrosh's war machines, and it's their designs that actually armed the Iron Horde. And Xal cut a fairly simple deal. And this wasn't hard for her because she was already working with them. You see, she needed black blood and they needed weapons. That's why we saw the Dark Fuse Goblins during the War Within 11.0. And, well, as it would turn out...
If you're wondering, by the way, like, why aren't the gnomes making mechanical shit all the time like the goblins are out of all this stuff? And that's because the goblins are chaotic in their nature. They don't give a fuck. They will do just about anything in advance and just about anything, even if it's unstable, just to gain power and money. While gnomes are more calculated. They're more careful. You know, they'll do some R&D testing. They like, you know, they don't like to go into too much chaotic stuff. Goblins, I mean, look at this. They're using old god blood here. Basically, goblins will take any power source in the world, you know, insert X power source, unstable power source here, and put it in weapons and shit. They did it with Azerite. They're doing it with old god blood. So that's why they are just the most chaotic race when it comes to tech, which is the opposite of gnomes, which are more controlled. You know, gnomes at the end of the day are of the Titans. They are originally a Titan creation, so they're more orderly in their creations.
That's why we saw the Dark Fuse
Goblins
during
side
the
lore
War
there.
Within 11.0, and well, as it would turn out, they were in Gallywix's pocket.
Goblins
This
made
worked, of course,
COVID-19.
for both sides. These black blood infused weapons are quite something. They do disintegrate people. But when Illyria struck the Dark Heart, well, the deal had to change because now she needed the Dark Heart mended, and she needed it mended fast. That sets the stage. But we had no idea that any of that was going on. All that we knew is something bizarre happened in the Ringing Deeps.
Right.
It's immediately obvious that black blood extraction is stupidly, grimly brutal. So brutal that the operation head Pamsy, in a bit of an act of desperation, blows a hole into the Ringing Deeps. That's how we find out. So we catch wind of this. We band together with Rowena and Gazlo, and we end the Black Blood operation. Then we make our way to Undermine. And in this opening cutscene, Gallywix is asserting his power over the cartel leaders, but once alone, Xal'atath appears to him. And the power dynamic is rather flipped because she needed that Dark Heart repaired yesterday, but it's not yet fixed. Now, Xal'atath obviously doesn't trust Gallywix. He's Gallywix, but from her point of view,
right.
Well, the goblins are the people who know how to fix this, and that means that Xal'atath actually didn't have much leverage, other than her being inherently, you know, kind of spooky and threatening. The thing is, none of this was known to...
I wonder what she... I mean, maybe she offered him power, or I can't imagine her offering him money. Xal'atath probably don't carry around a purse, so it must have been some type of power that she was offering him. Much like... what's her name? Queen Ansarek, right? Queen Ansarek was supposed to get more power. She gave her that, she transformed her more humanoid looking and all that shit. Ascension, right, is what she offered Queen Ansarek. So maybe something like that was offered to Gallywix. We'll never know now because he's dead and she's gone.
Spooky and threatening. The
But
thing
interesting
is, none
thought.
of this was known to Illyria.
She'll have a free year of her OnlyFans. Yeah, that's what it was.
Blood operation. But by investigating that operation, we would stumble upon a warehouse in downtown Undermine. And that's where things would really kick into gear. Along the way, we noticed something a little odd. Goblin-made ethereal detecting robots. What the hell were they doing there? Well, the answer was fairly obvious because we then found a letter from the very Ethereals that those robots were built to detect. And this letter basically warns us to stay out of their affairs, which, was kind of a surprise to us, but we have the more pressing matter of wrestling Undermine from Gallywix, who had beaten the cartels into submission, with a good example being Marin Noggenfodder. You might know him from his famous elixir, back, of course, in WoW Classic. In this case, though, his wife and his daughter are held hostage, and it's with the Noggenfodders that everything ends up converging. So, our Black Blood investigation leads us to the Darkheart, which of course needed the blood to be repaired. And after following a lead to Zandalar, we return to find the Noggenfodders compound flooded with Ethereals. Thankfully, Illyria is on hand. We're able to fight them off. We follow clues, and soon enough, our quest to free Noggenfodder's family leads us to Gallywix, Darkheart in hand. But as we very soon find out, everyone was played. We were played, Xal'atath was played, and Gallywix was very much played.
Interestingly, I mean, it gives a lot of credit to the Ethereals because they did outplay Xal'atath. You know how I said we're always on our back foot? The Ethereals clearly weren't. They had infiltrated every aspect of her. Remember, they were in the raid for Queen Ansarek and all that shit too. So they were all infiltrating everything. They very much played a Dreadlord game here, sat in the backgrounds, planned and schemed, and then when the move was finally ready to be made, they made their move and out-schemed Xal'atath.
Okay, let me set the scene. We reach the warehouse only to find Gallywix's elite guard dead, and they've got ethereal fire in their bodies. We press on, though, and we find a gloating Gallywix, because for him, it appears that everything's worked out perfectly. He's got his guns. They're really cool guns. Xal'atath's got her trinket, and Undermine will be his forever. But still, he's got the repaired Darkheart. Xal'atath hasn't picked it up yet, so he could leverage her for even more. But that's when Faye's thief Azir appears. He effortlessly rips the Darkheart from Gallywix's hand, gives us a real hilarious-looking cutscene, and then he disappears.
It's a great cutscene.
A little bit spooked. He makes a quick exit, and for us, it's definitely quite a loss. I mean, the good news, we've saved the Noggenfodder's family. The cartels are on side, but from our perspective, well, Gallywix has escaped, and an Ethereal has just got the Darkheart. Now, we've seen Xal'atath work with Ethereals, so we just assume, oh dear, Xal'atath has won. But if that was a bad day for us, Gallywix's day was about to get a whole lot worse.
Right.
It seems your time has run out, Gallywix.
Xal'atath, you got here just in time.
Where?
What
the hell? Why did it mute like that? It's weird. I handed it over to the Ethereals, pal.
You gave it to the Ethereals?
He wasn't working for you? I didn't know. I swear. Hey, we can still fix this. Just help me stomp this rebellion.
You have outlived your usefulness.
Yeah, it's a rinse and repeat of Queen Ansarek, right? Same shit. Basically, Queen Ansarek at the end was like, where the hell were you to help me defeat these people as they were coming into my my lair and everything? And Xal'atath was like, I'm kind of done with you. I don't need you anymore. So she just abandoned her. Xal'atath, one thing you kind of notice about her, she's not one to like kill people off. She just lets them kind of fall to their fate at the end of the day. Whatever happens, happens. She don't give a shit. She just moves on.
Those Ethereals weren't with her, so Zal is pissed. And sure, Gallywix could have cut a deal.
She drains the vessel and throws it away, yeah.
It's not like he handed the Darkheart over in a planned, willing way. No, Gallywix slowly realizes that these Ethereals were not working for Xal'atath, and that, like with Queen Ansarek, well, he was no longer useful to her. So, Xal'atath is furious, she leaves, we liberate Undermine, and then we play the epilogue. Of course, the epilogue being a bit more spicy because the only reason the Ethereals were able to get the Darkheart is because they, realized that we were going to end up finding it, and they trailed us, so we kind of did all the hard work for them.
True.
Okay, here's how Xal'atath got completely owned. Let's break this scene down. So that's Face Thief is here. He's got the Dark Heart, and he's standing in front of what looks to be the remnant of a void-corrupted world soul. And given all that we know, it's almost certainly Caresh, which is the fallen ethereal homeworld. Now, I say fallen, not destroyed. You see, the lore there is that yes, the Void Lord Dimensius was summoned in, right? But the Ethereals' mastery of arcane magic ground his invasion to a standstill. They unleashed so much magic that they basically lost their physical forms. That's why they're inscribed in bandages.
Yeah, and they have the ability to make these bubble worlds, these things right here. So this is supposed to be Caresh. These arcane bubbles that they make, we saw these for the first time in game back in Netherstorm, if you remember. Those whole like biomes that were inside of these arcane bubbles. Netherstorm was one of my favorite zones. That was a cool ass place, and the Ethereals were so badass. That was part of the reason why that whole zone was so cool. But these arcane bubbles that they make evidently can resist all kinds of arcane or void power and everything else. So yeah, it's very likely that their world has some remnants left there. It wasn't completely pulverized, and that was because of their ability to kind of master magic. My OnlyFans. How many OnlyFans do I have to pay for to get Sam to shut up?
To a standstill. They unleashed so
Fucking
much
combat,
magic that
read
they
that
basically
shitty
lost
cop.
their physical forms. That's why they're inscribed in bandages. We actually know little else, but using our eyes, it sure seems that this looks like a world soul suffocating in void energy. And I'm not going to go on a massive tangent about, oh my god, the swirlies line up, but suffice to say that swirl that we see, well, that swirls in the Emerald Dream and loads of other places that seem world soul coded. So it absolutely does seem like that is the world soul of Caresh. And that
The swirly, I don't know if that means anything. That might be a bit of a stretch. I mean, a swirly just means everything is kind of going towards the center, right? It's like it looks like a black hole. That's what I think, Chrissy.
sparks a question. What's actually happening? Is Xal'atath bad at her job, and who's behind all of this? Well, we know that Azir stole the Dark Heart, and thus far, we've only seen the Dark Heart absorb energy. So we could just say that maybe Azir wants to consume the last of Caresh. But I actually don't think that's it. No, I think that he will use the Dark Heart to awaken Caresh as a Void Titan, or something similar to that. It would essentially be a twist on Legion's ending, right? It's the idea of a world soul being bombarded with energy that's well established in the game. And the Dark Heart has a hell of a lot of energy. It's got the weird void essence that made Galakrond such a hungry boy. It's got the energy of Dalaran, which is a lot. It's got Beladar and likely loads.
Yeah, he's actually thinking of the opposite of what I'm thinking. So that when I see he's thinking that he's going to use the energy to pump it into the world soul, I think he's going to use the Dark Heart to suck it out of the world soul. Yeah, he's going to suck off the world soul. That's right. That's my theory. Just the same way that Xal'atath right here is using it to kind of absorb energy. That's what I think he's going to use the Dark Heart for, is to absorb all that energy that's just sitting there right now, corrupting their world soul, fucking it up, and everything else. I guess we'll see. Pump it up or drain it. One of the two is going to happen.
Loads and loads of black blood. That leaves us with two questions, and the next one to tackle: is Xal'atath bad at her job?
Yeah, nobody wants to dark fart. It's a bad one.
Let's review Xal's performance so far. So, after outplaying us through Dragonflight and much of the War Within, she's actually now lost twice in a row. Or other minor defeats, like, say, Magni cleansing the Halls of Awakening, I don't...
Well, what's going on? Dad fella, Kate, what the fuck's going on? I'm talking lore here, and you guys are just talking shit. Hey, Jesus. Can we have a constructive lore conversation without you guys just fucking cussing me out? That's not a theory. That's been confirmed for years. What has? What? Did the Dark Heart absorb shit? No? Okay, fair.
Really think count that much to me, because I think those were basically distractions. But
I forgot my community is filled with G-gens. Pure D-gens.
Its core here is the Dark Heart is the linchpin of her plan, and it's now in the hands of the Ethereals. And while her and the Ethereals are both of the Void, and there are Ethereals who she's allied with, these guys are clearly not friends. And I think that's what makes Xal'atath a great villain, actually. She can lose. Her plans are in-depth. They're often very successful, but it's not an impersonal, pitiful mortals, jailer-style mastermind piece of mush. She has got to fight for her victories. She actually gets visibly pissed off and furious. that kind of makes her more dangerous. And the basic fact that she's had to fight from a position of weakness to get her victories has been true for all these years, where she had to operate stuck in a blade and purely just manipulate things.
True.
I think that makes her...
I mean, clearly Xal'atath has taken losses before, right? How the hell did she end up in that blade? I don't think that was, by choice. So she's clearly fallible. Like, she can take losses. She can get out-schemed. So that makes her, as I said before, a more interesting villain for sure.
Pretty damn great character. That's why I'm excited for the future. So let's talk about that. The stage is set for both her
Leave the Lord
and
to
us to converge on Caresh. Obviously, she needs the Dark Heart. If its energy is spent, she will lose. And if it's spent on waking Caresh, then that will be a threat that we will need to stop, and probably also that she will need to stop. I imagine anyway. But if we thwart Azir's plan before the Dark Heart's energy is spent, then we will risk her getting it, and that can't be good. Which kind of begs a question.
Interesting, yeah.
Who are these Ethereals, and what does Xal'atath actually want to do with the Dark Heart?
Right.
Now, on this front, I have damn good news. I have a deep dive on these Ethereals linked below, but maybe what you should really watch next is this deep dive on Xal'atath's identity, because especially after watching this video, it will blow your mind, because the clues have literally been in front of us the whole time. You just didn't notice it, so I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, great video. And I think Xal'atath is lining up to be a great villain. And don't forget, another great villain that's seemingly still working in the background is Eridicron. What the fuck's he up to? What is he doing? A lot of good stuff right here. The villainy and everything playing out is so much better in this expansion than previous ones. Nice video from Bellular.